The legend of El Dorado, the lost city of gold, has lured explorers, adventurers, and treasure hunters for centuries. It was said to be a place where the streets were paved with gold, the temples adorned with jewels, and the rivers flowed with liquid treasure. But for those who sought it, the city was more than a myth. It was a siren's call, promising untold riches and glory. Yet, as many would discover, the price of finding El Dorado was far greater than they could have imagined. Our story begins in the early 19th century, deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. A British explorer named Captain Edward Hawthorne had spent years studying ancient maps, deciphering cryptic texts, and gathering tales from indigenous tribes. He was convinced that El Dorado was real, and he was determined to be the one to find it. Hawthorne was a man of science and reason, but even he couldn't resist the allure of the legendary city. Hawthorne assembled a team of 6 men: Thomas, his loyal second-in-command; Miguel, a local guide who claimed to know the secrets of the jungle; Dr. Langston, an archaeologist obsessed with ancient civilizations; James, a young cartographer; Henry, a burly survivalist; and Father O'Malley, a priest who believed the city was a test of faith. The journey began with high spirits. The team hacked their way through dense foliage, crossed treacherous rivers, and endured the sweltering heat. Miguel led them with confidence, speaking of the dangers that lay ahead: poisonous snakes, jaguars, and tribes that guarded the jungle's secrets. But Hawthorne was undeterred. He had a map, a compass, and an unshakable belief in his mission. After weeks of travel, the team stumbled upon an ancient stone marker covered in moss and vines. It was carved with strange symbols, a mix of human figures, animals, and celestial patterns. Dr. Langston was ecstatic. "This is it," he exclaimed. "This is proof we're on the right path." But as they pressed on, strange things began to happen. Supplies went missing. Tools broke inexplicably. At night, the men heard whispers in the wind, though no one was there. Father O'Malley warned that they were being watched by spirits, but Hawthorne dismissed his concerns as superstition. One morning, James woke up screaming. He claimed to have seen a shadowy figure standing over him, its eyes glowing like embers. The others brushed it off as a nightmare, but James was visibly shaken. From that day on, he became withdrawn, muttering to himself and sketching strange symbols in his notebook. Finally, after months of grueling travel, the team reached a massive stone gate hidden deep in the jungle. It was covered in gold leaf and encrusted with precious gems. Beyond it lay El Dorado, a sprawling city of golden temples, towering statues, and streets that shimmered in the sunlight. The men were awestruck. They had found it. But as they explored the city, they noticed something unsettling. The air was eerily still, and the only sound was the echo of their footsteps. There were no birds, no animals, no signs of life. The buildings were pristine, as if frozen in time, but there was no evidence of the people who had built them. Dr. Langston discovered a temple at the center of the city. Inside, the walls were covered in murals depicting a great ceremony. A king, adorned in gold, stood at the edge of a lake, offering treasures to the gods. But the final mural showed the city being swallowed by darkness, its people vanishing into thin air. That night, the team camped in the temple. James, still haunted by his visions, refused to sleep. He sat by the fire, staring at his sketches. Suddenly, he began to scream. The others woke to find him clawing at his skin, as if trying to tear something off. "It's inside me," he cried. "It's inside all of us." Before anyone could react, James collapsed. His body turned black, and a foul smell filled the air. The men were horrified. Father O'Malley prayed fervently, while Dr. Langston examined the murals again. "It's a curse," he said. "The city was never meant to be found. The gold, the jewels, they're a trap." One by one, the men began to succumb to the curse. Henry, the survivalist, went mad and vanished into the jungle. Miguel was found dead, his body twisted into an unnatural position. Dr. Langston, desperate to understand the curse, locked himself in the temple and was never seen again. Only Hawthorne, Thomas, and Father O'Malley remained. They decided to leave the city, but the jungle seemed to conspire against them. Paths they had taken before now led them in circles. The whispers grew louder, and shadowy figures stalked them from the trees. Father O'Malley revealed that he had been carrying a relic, a small cross blessed by the Pope. He believed it could protect them, but it came at a cost. "The curse feeds on greed," he said. "To break it, we must leave everything behind." Hawthorne hesitated. He had risked everything to find El Dorado, and the thought of leaving empty-handed was unbearable. But as the curse closed in, he realized he had no choice. The men buried their treasures and fled the city. Hawthorne and Thomas eventually made it back to civilization, but they were forever changed. Thomas refused to speak of what had happened, and Hawthorne spent the rest of his life searching for a way to return to El Dorado. He died a broken man, haunted by the city he could never forget. As for Father O'Malley, he disappeared shortly after their return. Some say he went back to the jungle to destroy the curse once and for all. Others believe he became a wanderer, warning others of the dangers of greed. The city of El Dorado remains hidden, its treasures waiting for the next foolhardy soul to seek them. But those who know the truth understand that the real curse is not the darkness that consumes the city. It's the greed that drives men to find it. The tale of El Dorado is a cautionary one. It reminds us that some treasures are not meant to be found, and that the pursuit of wealth can come at a terrible cost. The curse of El Dorado is not just a story, it's a warning to all who would risk everything for gold. And so, the legend lives on, a shimmering mirage in the heart of the jungle, waiting for the next adventurer to fall under its spell. But remember, not all that glitters is gold, and some curses are better left unbroken.